Hello and welcome to this live coaching session. So it is my weekly live Ask Me Anything coaching session where all you need to do is basically raise your hand, ask a question in the comments, and hopefully I'll see it, and then of course I will answer live here in this Facebook group. For those of you who are watching this via YouTube, you can go in Facebook and join our Facebook group for our weekly coaching sessions, and also because I post a lot of quality content on Facebook as well. So you will see the link below for those who are joining us on YouTube. So I hope you had a lovely weekend. It was a fabulous weekend for me. I'm here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. It's absolutely a gorgeous day, very hot, humid, as Florida does it best, and actually very hot and very humid. I've been visiting the Flamingo Gardens this weekend. It was a beautiful weekend. I was very thrilled and excited and happy to take some time and actually go on more and more excursions in this beautiful state of Florida and spend some time with gorgeous, gorgeous creatures such as the pink flamingos that we have so many of here. So that was my weekend. I hope you had a wonderful weekend as well. I hope you do take care of yourself, take care of your mind and your spirit, and also of your heart, of your love for what you do and your love for this beautiful life. This week I want to speak about the law of attraction for business. So some of you may know that I am a law of attraction expert, although I rarely, and I should say I speak too rarely of it. And maybe I should start speaking of it more and more, because it's something that I excel in and that I have extraordinary success with in France, because I do have a company also coaching people in the French language, and we have extraordinary successes with my methodology of combination of brain reprogramming and law of attraction, spiritual laws of success, blended in with very practical, day-to-day, goal achieving methodologies, processes, and systems. So I know that I help a lot people change their mindset, change the way they look at things, change also the clarity that they have for their goals, and understand exactly where they want to go. But again, perhaps I speak too little about the law of attraction. I started on my journey with the law of attraction, like potentially a lot of you out there watching this, when I watched The Secret in 2006. But I want to share with you what actually opened me up to the law of attraction and how this amazing journey started. Now, in this journey today, I'm a best-selling author and expert, renowned international expert on the law of attraction. I've written probably over a dozen, if not more, books on the subject. I just finished my 42nd book, and it was again about the law of attraction. It was asked by my French publisher, first edition, to have yet another book on the law of attraction, and I have my other Swiss publisher who also asked me to publish a deck of inspirational cards potentially for Christmas. There's also 3 different little Japanese dolls that are coming out on the market in France, and they will have attached to them miniature books about the law of attraction that I wrote. So a lot of products and a lot of things happening in the French-speaking market about the law of attraction, but very little do people know about my expertise here in the US. So I want to share a little bit my journey with you in the hopes that it opens your minds and your hearts to what everything that is can potentially happen in your life, and how your vibe and your mental state can really have a great impact on the life that you live and on the results that you see. How it all happened for me, I'd say that before 2006, although I was very successful as a salesperson, I was always top salesperson in all the companies I worked for, I felt a profound dissatisfaction with my life. It's like I was missing my purpose, or I wasn't fully satisfied with everything that I could do, and I felt limited by just doing sales. And I say just because in my own world I wanted more, I wanted to do more, I wanted to bring light into the world. That was always what I kept on repeating ever since I was a teenager. How can I bring more light into this world? And so before 2006, I'd say, first of all, I had no clue about self-development. I didn't know anything about the law of attraction or any laws of success for that matter. I haven't read any books on success. I was a book critic for many years, so I had read a lot of books. I finished a master's in history of communications, so I read a lot about communications and history, and so I was, I'd say, very knowledgeable, and I had a lot of culture, and I had read a lot, but I never really knew that there was a whole different section that existed that was all about developing the mind, developing the self, and I was really clueless. So before 2006, I managed to live life thinking that I was not really lucky in life, and that I just went from bad luck to difficult circumstances to difficult circumstances, and that my life would be an ever-going battle. And that's how I saw myself and how I saw life. And in 2006, well, a very, very traumatic event happened in my life. My dad passed away. I had just reconnected with him, and then he passed. So it was very difficult to, hi Tony, just joined. Hi Tony, welcome to this live. So just so you know, I'm just a little bit explaining how I came to become an expert in the law of attraction, how that affected my business, in the hopes that it can also inspire you and that you can benefit from my experience in your own business, in your own life. So basically in 2006, my dad died. It was very, very traumatic, but at the same time, my ex-husband and I split up for really, and in a very, very difficult way, not in nothing beautiful about it. It was very, very hard. And on top of it, I had extreme financial difficulties. I really thought that I was going to end up homeless. I couldn't pay the mortgage, and I ended up in a very, very dark place. And dark, when I mean dark, I really mean dark. I ended up thinking that my only way out was to take me out of the equation, because I thought, what a horrible life I've lived so far, and now I have nothing to live for. And was really my state of mind, my state of being. Once again, I had no clue how the mind impacts your reality. I didn't really know how your vibe impacts your reality. In my mind, I was kind of trapped as a victim of this life, and I no longer wanted to be a victim. And so I thought the only way to stop it was to stop my life, which was kind of pretty horrendous, but that's where I was. And I remember clearly that I was there thinking, literally planning on how I could take my own life, and thinking of all the strategies and ways that existed, um, seriously. And then something came to me where I thought, well, and I was, of course, an atheist. I didn't believe in God. I didn't believe that anything like that could ever exist, that I was lonely, alone in this world, and poor me, self-pity to the max. And so I really, because I had no other train of thought, the only last train of thought was prayer. I actually prayed because I was so desperate, in such a dark place, that I thought, well, you know what, if you really exist, God, out there, if you really exist, well, I really need help, like right now, because it's either that or give me a way to take me out of this equation, out of this life, because I can't take it anymore. And not even an hour passed that an old elderly couple, knocked at my door, at the door of this house that I was living in. And I didn't know them. I had no clue why they decided to stop that day, like almost two angels that came out of nowhere, and asked to visit my house because I had put it for sale because I couldn't pay the mortgage. So they did visit the house, and while they were there, they invited me to their home. They said, "Oh, come visit our house tomorrow and you'll see the difference." I had nothing better to do apart from killing myself. So I thought, well, yeah, I'll go visit your house tomorrow. That gave me at least one more day to live. And the only reason for living was basically seeing this elderly couple again. So I went to their house, and we chatted, and they gave me two gifts out of the blue again. They gave me T. Harv Eker's book, The Secret of a Millionaire Mind, and they gave me The Secret. So here I was with two gifts, going back home and wondering, what on earth am I doing with these things? And so I had nothing else to do because, again, I had no job, no money, no resources, nobody. So I turned on the movie, I watched it, and I started reading the book. And something happened within me that we can call hope, but actually something profound happened within me, and that changed my life that day for, I guess, the rest of my life. And that put me on this path, on this journey that I've been on since that day. And what happened inside of me was like a switch, like someone had turned on a switch, and that switch said, you are not a victim of your circumstances. You actually decide. You're responsible for your circumstances. And if you take full responsibility for your life, well, you can actually have a change. You can actually change your life and create another life, a different future, if only you take responsibility and do something about it. And the way to do that is by changing your vibration, changing your mind, switching to a different neurological path, which I didn't know anything about at that time. But I thought, you know what? I have nothing else to do. And T. Harv Eker's books really start by saying, you don't have to believe me. Just try it. Just do what I say in this book and test it. Try it for yourself. And so here I was, the movie that I, of course, lacks a lot, but had a fundamental base for me, a place to start, basically, that told me, hey, you know what? There's something out there called the law of attraction, and whatever you focus on, you will attract, you will get more of. And I thought, oh my goodness, if that's really the fact, if that's really true, I've been focusing on darkness and horrible things all this time, and weirdly enough, I've been attracting all these horrible circumstances in my life. If that is true, it kind of made sense to me that's why I lived such a difficult life. And so I said, okay, fine, I will change. And I started changing a little bit. And suddenly I saw things change. And I suddenly realized just how powerful our mind was. That just the fact that I started changing and being more grateful, more receptive, and started to think about what I wanted instead of what I didn't want, and started to orient my life towards hope instead of fear, towards a future that looks bright and brilliant instead of darkness and self-pity and victimization. And suddenly I saw real quick results, but I also was entirely committed to the process. That's what I thought, is I'll commit to this 100%, because of course inside of me I didn't want to die. I wanted to get some kind of solution, something that would get me out of the mess that I was in. And so I started being more and more interested in everything that has to do with self-development, with brain, the development of the brain, how the brain works, how we can talk a different language. So NLP, but I went further than NLP. I wanted to understand how we can reprogram the brain, how we can change the neuropathic ways of our brain, the circuits of how our brain is connected. And so I massively started to read, research. I always was an avid reader. It's just I wasn't reading books that were helping me. I was reading, historical books and books that had no real impact on my day-to-day life. And so I really started reading books about success and became quasi obsessed with success. I wanted to know what makes an individual successful and how the law of attraction really can impact our life. And if that is true, if it works, well, you can imagine that there were two choices in my life. Either I went the direction where I was in, which led to potential me killing myself, or fully committed to something I had no proof would actually work, but was another option. So I gave it my all, and within 3 months I started investing in real estate out of literally nowhere. I was in debt of $220,000 with my house. I was in a really bad financial state, no real job. Suddenly I found a position as a marketing manager, and that helped me pay for the mortgage. But also I learned from that company, because it was a huge real estate company, had 5 franchises. I was coaching about 100, overseeing the operation for about 100 realtors and 5 different mortgage companies, and training the mortgage agents and growing the company. So I successfully grew the company, but that's something that I was already very good at. I was in business development for already almost 2 decades. I started very young. So that I had under my belt. What I didn't know is how I could impact my life differently. And so suddenly I got that job. Because I was introduced to mortgages, I suddenly realized, hey, you know what? I can invest in real estate. So I started reading about real estate investments, studying the market. I found a location where I could start investing. I actually got my first triplex with 0 money down, which was quasi incredible, impossible. And so within a year and a half, instead of being $220,000 in debt, my net value had become $300,000 in the black. So suddenly I had a net worth that increased $500,000 in a very short amount of time, without me feeling like I had done anything really, apart from working inside of myself and working on my ability to think of things that I wanted instead of things that I didn't want, and changing my vibe to being more grateful, being more open to receiving. Changing also, I worked a lot on my self love, on loving myself, feeling deserving, where before I was empty of self-love and I had self-confidence, but it was a practiced self-confidence. I knew I was good in what I did, but it didn't mean that I loved myself and I felt good about being who I was. So a big difference there. So I worked on that a lot, and evidently the results were quite spectacular. So how do you utilize the law of attraction for business? I'd say the first path is really understanding that you are responsible for 100% of what happens in your life, in your business. And when you take ownership of the good and the bad, and kind of, I'd say, maybe forgive yourself about it and build your self-esteem to know that you deserve better, what happens is that's the first shift. Knowing that you own responsibility for everything that happens gives you also 100% power over your life. And that really is the first biggest shift that happened to me. Once I understood that I'm fully responsible for what happened, even things that I blamed others, I pointed fingers, and some were, of course, tragic events and very difficult circumstances, I still took back ownership. And then I realized that by doing that, you also become fully powerful, empowered to making the right decisions and making the right actions towards your future. And the less you blame others, the less finger you point around you, well, the more you have more power to you, basically, to do what you need to do in order to become more successful. So that is really the first thing, is becoming responsible. The next thing is really learning, and I'd say that's probably the toughest learning curve, is learning how to orient your brain, orient your thoughts consistently with discipline towards what you want, and no longer towards what you don't want. And that's a huge differentiator, because I realized that our life is driven basically like a car. And if you focus your attention on the precipice, well, you will drive your car inside the precipice and it will crash. And if you orient your brain to the road and the direction in which you're going, well, you will avoid all precipices, simply because it's where you look that you drive your car. So you need to look in the direction of where you want to go instead of the direction where you fear of going. And a lot of people, unfortunately, spend a majority of their time thinking and using their mind in thinking about what is the worst possible scenario, what is the thing that scares me the most, instead of thinking about what is the thing that can help me the most. So you need to become solution oriented instead of problem oriented. So I guess that's really introduction to the law of attraction for business. I will dig deeper into different other aspects and how you can really utilize the law of attraction in your business. But for now, I really wanted to give you this introduction and show you a little bit how that has changed my life. Of course, I went from a very, very dark place to manifesting some amazing things, amazing results throughout the last 15 years, and also allowed me to coach and to help a lot of people reach their goals, and I guess create outrageous goals and reach outrageous goals, and blend this matrix that we call reality, bend it to our wants and our needs. I hope this helps. Please subscribe to my videos if you are on YouTube. Come to my Facebook page, Six Figures and More. That will help you, of course, get to six figures and more in your business. Even if you're at seven figures, at least you will have a lot of the solid foundation to grow your business and avoid pitfalls, of course, in any economy. Thank you, and I hope to see you here again next week.